Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. First up, I'm making baked chicken thighs, and I'm going to start out by doing one of the side dishes. I tried a new recipe for cheesy scalloped potatoes from the Cozy Cook. I will have the recipe linked in the description box below for you, and a quick note, I did have the recipe. So in this skillet here, and this was on about medium heat, I added some butter and olive oil. Once that was heated up and the butter was melted, I'm going to add in some thinly sliced onions. I'm going to season up these onions with some salt, pepper, and dried thyme. I'm going to give this a stir, and then you want to cook this on about medium-low heat for maybe 20 to 30 minutes or so until the onions are tender and caramelized. And you do want to stir them every so often. Here's what mine looked like. Some of them did get a little over-caramelized, but that's just fine. Now, I'm going to get the oven preheating to 350 degrees while I get started on my sauce. So I've got some butter in this skillet. This is on about medium heat. I'm going to sprinkle in my flour and give that a really good whisk and cook that for just a minute or two to cook out that raw flour taste. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but I did not wipe out my skillet between cooking the onions and making this sauce. You can if you want to, but there's good flavor in there from the onions. Next, I'm going to add in some minced garlic, give that a stir, and cook that for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Next, I'm going to gradually whisk in the milk. So I'm going to add a little bit of milk, whisk it, add a little more milk, whisk it until it is a smooth sauce. As you can see here, see how it looks really lumpy? If you get here and think you've done something wrong, you have not. Just keep whisking. It will smooth out. Once it has been brought to a boil, you can remove it from the heat, and we're going to add in our seasoning. So we're going to add in some ground mustard, just a tiny little cayenne pepper, some salt and pepper, and then later on, off the camera, I decided to add in just a little bit of smoked paprika. The recipe didn't call for that, but I just added a little bit in. So the recipe suggests letting this cool for a couple minutes and then adding in the cheese. So I've got some cream cheese here, just a couple ounces. I'm going to add that and let that melt. I kind of let it mostly melt. I was impatient. And then we're going to add in our shredded cheddar cheese. And again, the heat is off at this point, and this has cooled for a couple minutes, but the sauce is still hot enough to melt this cheese. So you're going to give this a whisk, and once the cheese has completely melted, you're done. Give it a taste and adjust the seasonings to your taste. If you're happy where it's at, we're going to add in those caramelized onions, and here you can see me giving it a taste like I suggested. So that sauce is done. Now it's time to assemble the potatoes. Got a greased casserole dish. I'm going to add in my potatoes, and I did them in a I was going to do a single layer, but I have more potatoes, so I did a little more than a single layer. Once we've got that single layer of potatoes, we're going to add half of our sauce. Then we're going to do another layer of potatoes and then the remaining sauce. After we've gotten the sauce on there, we're going to add another layer of cheese. And then you want to cover this with foil. Now, I decided to spray the side of the foil that was going to be touching the cheese. I sprayed it with some cooking spray just to help the cheese not stick. And you want to bake this covered for 45 minutes. And then after 45 minutes, you're going to remove the foil and cook it for another 45 minutes or so until your potatoes are tender. And if you want to, you can broil this for a minute or two to get it brown on top. So here are what the potatoes look like when they were done. As you can see, they are boiling hot. So you definitely want to let these sit for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes before you serve them up. All right, now I'm going to get started on baking up some chicken thighs. So here I have bone-in and skin-on chicken thighs. I'm just going to take some kitchen scissors, and these are pretty dull, so this wasn't difficult. It's just my scissors were dull. I need to sharpen them. But I'm going to cut off some of the extra fat and then lay them on a wire rack that is on top of a foil-lined baking sheet. I just did that to make cleanup easier. So I'm going to season both sides of my chicken. Season them however you want. Tonight I'm going to use some salt and pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and smoked paprika. And again, use whatever seasonings you like, use what you've got on hand or what your family likes, and you can switch this up. You know, you could do Greek style seasonings, you could do like Mexican style seasonings, whatever you like. I also decided to add on just a little olive oil to add a little moisture to chicken thighs, but also more importantly, just to kind of help me, you know, kind of rub that chicken in. So just adding a little extra virgin olive oil and then massaging the spices in. I'm going to flip all of the chicken over and then just do the exact same spices on the opposite side. And then once I've got these seasoned up, I'm going to place them into a preheated oven. Now, normally I cook my chicken, it depends on what sides I'm making. So because the potatoes were cooking at 350, I baked these at 350. I baked them for about 30 minutes, flipped them over, baked them on the other side for about 30 minutes. You just want to cook them until they're at least 165 degrees internal temperature. And for the other side, I just did some quick and easy roasted asparagus. Took some asparagus, washed it, trimmed it, tossed it with some extra virgin olive oil and some of the Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse seasoning, and I just baked it while the chicken and potatoes rested. Here are the plates. So we've got the chicken, the asparagus, the potatoes. I had some chives that I needed to use up, so I just garnished the potatoes with chives. You don't have to do that. The chicken was so good, so flavorful. Chicken on the bone is just so tender and juicy. It has a lot more flavor than chicken breast. Now, for the potatoes. So, you know, like I said earlier, you cook the potatoes covered with foil for 45 minutes and then remove the foil. After that 45 minutes, you know, I was removing the foil. The potatoes looked great. Put them back in the oven for the other 45 minutes, pulled them out. They still looked really good, but the potatoes were not tender. So I put the potatoes back in the oven and, you know, I kept checking them and they took probably another like 25 minutes or so. I'm not sure why it took that much longer than the recipe. It was like 25-30 minutes. I cut my potatoes the same thickness as she said in the recipe. Maybe it was just my oven, but after that like 25 or 30 more minutes, when I pulled the potatoes out of the oven, I noticed that the sauce looked a lot darker than it had previously. And as I was serving up the potatoes, the sauce, the texture of it was just totally off. It was clumpy and, you know, looked kind of separated. The only thing that I can think of is that maybe that extra 25 or 30 minutes was just too much for the sauce and it caused it to break. Because I don't know what else would have done it, you know, when I've checked it multiple times and it looked fine. So next time I make this, which we loved the flavor of the sauce and the potatoes. It was really good. It was just the texture from it breaking. So next time I make this, I would probably par cook the potatoes. You know, that way I don't run into that problem again. It was still a good dinner and that's what we had that night. Over the past couple weeks or so on Instagram, I have seen several people just raving about the crazy puffs from Little Caesars. So I placed an order online. Gary ran and picked it up for us. Here's what we got. So we did a large pepperoni pizza, and then to half the pizza, I added pineapples and mushrooms. That was my half. To the other half of the pizza, it had pineapples and mushrooms as well, but it also had onions, bell peppers, black olives, and banana peppers. That was Gary's side. He requested some buffalo wings, so we grabbed that, and then we got an order of the crazy puffs to try. And here is a picture of the plate. Little Caesars. I mean, in my opinion, it's not the best pizza in the world. You know, it's pretty inexpensive. It's fast. It's easy. So, you know, the pizza was fine. It wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing, but, you know, it was decent pizza. And Gary liked the wings. And then for the crazy puffs, I mean, I thought they were good. I don't get what all the hype is about. I mean, I just thought they were good. But they did read a little greasy to me. Could have just been our Little Caesars. But, yeah, not a bad dinner. And we had leftovers for lunch the next day. For dinner the next night, I tried a new recipe I saw on Instagram. The lady's name on Instagram is The Salad Lab, and like every salad she makes looks incredibly delicious. And I saw this and I've been wanting to try it. I will have her Instagram linked in the description box below for you. So in this bowl here, and I halved her recipe, by the way. In this bowl here, I've got some romaine lettuce and iceberg lettuce that I chopped up. I'm next going to add in some chopped deli turkey and deli ham, and I just use one of those like vegetable choppers that, you know, they're rectangle and you just kind of hit it with your fist and get all your anger. It's great therapy. Get all your anger and aggression out. So once I've added in the ham and turkey, I'm going to add in some diced tomatoes, some diced hard-boiled eggs. Then I've got some shredded Monterey Jack cheese that I'm going to add. Next, the recipe called for shredded cheddar cheese, but I had just a little bit of a block of Colby cheese, so I shredded that up. So I'm going to add that. And, you know, like with anything, you're in your kitchen. If there's something that the recipe calls for and you don't want to add it, don't add it. If there's something that you've got on hand that you want to use instead or that you want to add, totally go for it. Next, we're going to add in some toasted slivered almonds. Well, that's what the recipe called for, and I totally forgot to toast these, but it's fine. Now I'm going to add in some bacon that I cooked up and crumbled, and I'm going to give the salad a really good toss. Once it's tossed, I'm going to set that to the side, and we're going to make the dressing. Now, this is like an orange bacon honey mustard vinaigrette. So in this bowl here, I'm going to add in some extra virgin olive oil, followed by some red wine vinegar. Next, I'm going to add in some orange juice. I mean, you could use freshly squeezed if you want, but I'm just using some from the bottle. Next, I'm going to add in some Dijon mustard. Then I'm adding in some of the bacon grease from where I cooked my bacon. And once again, I'm being a recipe rebel. She said to strain your bacon grease. I forgot to do that. Now I'm going to add in some of that reserved chopped cooked bacon from earlier, and then we're going to add in some honey. Now my honey was a little on the crystallized side, so you can see me fighting with it a little bit here, but it was fine. It all worked out in the end. Now I'm going to add in some finely minced shallots and then season it to taste with some salt and pepper, and then that's it for the vinaigrette. You're going to give this a really, really good whisk. Taste it and adjust it. If you feel like you want it a little sweeter, add a little more honey. If you feel like you want it a little more acidic, you could add in some more vinegar or the Dijon or orange juice. But I've got that well mixed, so I'm going to set that to the side. And then I had a lot more salad than what I knew we'd be able to eat in one serving. Even having the recipe, this made a ton for 2 people. It was really enough for at least 4 people. So I just pulled some of the salad out into a separate bowl, so I didn't go ahead and dress the whole thing. And then I added on the vinaigrette, gave it another final toss, and then that was it. Here are the salads. Now, I really liked this. Is, you know, like basically just a good club salad. I liked the flavor of the dressing, but I didn't necessarily love the vinaigrette with the salad. I think for this, I would have preferred a more creamy dressing. So I think I would make this in the future, but instead of doing like a vinaigrette, I would make more just like a normal honey mustard dressing, but add in some of that orange juice to make it like an orange honey mustard dressing. But this was still really good, and like I said, it made a ton. Dinner the next night, I just really honestly did not feel like cooking. I went off meal plan and I was tempted to order something out, but earlier that day I'd seen a post from this lady on Instagram. Her handle, I think, is A Life from Scratch, and she's all about like simplicity, and I'd seen her do a dinner similar to what I'm doing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. So had some chicken tenders. I'm gonna season them up with some of this Kinder's barbecue blend seasoning, and then I have this box of Cracker Barrel macaroni and cheese. I've never tried the Cracker Barrel macaroni and cheese before, but I'm just going to cook that up according to the package instructions. So for the chicken tenders, I seasoned them up really well on both sides. And then I also saw this Cusimax like indoor grill on Courtney. That's A Life from Scratch on her Instagram. She uses it all the time. Now, this is not sponsored at all. In full disclosure, maybe a couple of years or so ago, Cusimax did gift me a mixer. I did a sponsorship on that, but this is not sponsored at all. I paid for this with my own money, and I've used this a couple times, and I'm really enjoying it. So I just preheated the grill to 350 degrees, and then I cooked the chicken on the first side for about maybe 5 minutes or so, gave it a flip, cooked it another maybe 4 to 5 minutes until the chicken was 165 degrees internal temperature. And then the last minute or two of cooking, I'm going to baste it with some of this Kinder's hickory brown sugar barbecue sauce, and then just cook it, like I said, the last couple minutes of cooking just to get that barbecue sauce good and sticky. So here's what the chicken looked like at this point. I'm going to remove the chicken to a separate plate and allow it to rest for a couple minutes before I serve it up. And then here is the macaroni and cheese. Like I said, just cooked it according to the package instructions, but I did add in a little splash of milk. And then for the other side, going to do some super easy broccoli. Just have this bag of broccoli florets. I'm going to toss it with some extra virgin olive oil. And then I found this McCormick garlic and herb seasoning, roasted garlic and herb. And so I'm just going to toss the broccoli with the extra virgin olive oil and that seasoning. I put it in the air fryer at 400 degrees and cooked it for maybe like 8 minutes or so, shaking it halfway through. Here are the finished plates. So we've got the barbecue chicken, the broccoli, the macaroni and cheese, delicious dinner. And it was super, super easy. And it took like less than 30 minutes to put everything together. Dinner the next night was also off a meal plan, which I was really bad this week about sticking to the meal plan, but we all have weeks like that. For lunch the day before, I'd made a taco pasta salad. I also saw this on Instagram. The lady's name is Mississippi Queen. I'm just new to her channel. I say channel because I'm so used to YouTube, but her Instagram account. I think she's funny, but I will say she does cuss. So if you're someone who doesn't prefer to listen to that, just keep that in mind. But this pasta salad I will be sharing in an upcoming lunch video. But like I said, I made it for us for lunch, but when it came time for dinner and I didn't feel like cooking, I just, we just ate the leftover pasta salad from lunch, and that was our dinner this night. So, dinner the next night, also off of meal plan. I know I sound like a broken record, but I already told you I was really bad about sticking to the meal plan this week. I just really wanted my crock-pot creamy Italian chicken this night. Now, I've shared this so many times before on my channel. If you've been with me for a while, you're probably rolling your eyes and be like, oh my gosh, Megan, this again? Yes, when I say it's a family favorite, I mean it. Now, I have shared this many times before. I've got separate videos where I go in depth. I'll link that below. But in this crock-pot, I have a couple chicken breasts that I sprinkled with some dry Italian dressing mix, a little splash of chicken broth, cream cheese, and a can of cream of chicken soup. Cook it on low for 4 to 6 hours or so until the chicken's tender and 165 degrees at least. A lot of people shred their chicken. I prefer to remove it and dice it. Total personal preference, but yeah, that's all that is. And then I steamed up some broccoli real quick for us. Now, I prefer this over rice. I know a lot of people add pasta to this. Gary wanted it with pasta this night, so I just boiled up some rotini pasta for him and then added some of that creamy chicken to his pasta, added a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top of his. And for mine, like I said, I prefer it over just steamed white rice. And then we've got the broccoli on the side. Delicious, so good. If you have still not tried this recipe, you got to give it a try. It is easy, it's delicious, and it is budget friendly and family friendly. My little brother and sister have loved this and requested this since they were little bitty. So yeah, give it a try. For the last dinner in this week's video, and I'm going to say dinner in quotation marks because it wasn't really a dinner, which I'll explain in just a second. But I did not get a picture. I apologize about that. But we had a really late lunch this day. Gary had a business meeting, and at the business meeting, they had lunch afterwards, and he had a prime rib sandwich, and then he stopped at O'Charlie's on his way home and got me their southern chicken tender salad, and I could only eat half of it. Their salads are huge, but it was super filling. And when it came time for dinner, y'all, we just were not hungry. And so I think it was like maybe right at 10 o'clock at night that we finally started to kind of get a little munchy, and we just had some Fritos scoops with some of the Fritos mild cheddar dip, and that was our quote-unquote dinner for the night. That is it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it and got some dinner ideas to try. If you did like the video, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.